Hello and welcome back to another journal with me video. Today's video is another journaling spread in my journal, and this is a bit of a catch-up spread. So I've got some photos that I printed back in January that I really want to get down in my journal, and I just want to write about these memories while they're still kind of fresh in my mind. So I just showed you the bits and pieces that I have, and then I pulled out these children's dictionary books and I'm flicking through to see if there's any illustrations that will help decorate the pages. So I'm documenting a recent trip to the zoo, and I have one old children's dictionary book which I've already cut heaps of images out of, and then I've got another one here that I found recently in a thrift store that I haven't cut into yet, and I don't know if I will cut into it yet. I didn't end up using it in this video. I was tempted, but I thought the book's in such nice condition, I'm not sure if I'll cut into it. We might just keep this one as like a reading book for my kids. It's quite cute. So flicking through it anyway, just to see what options I have. I found some sentence and spelling work in this book as I was flicking through, which was really cute. But yeah, just flicking through, I decided not to use that particular book just because I'm not sure if I'm going to use this one for crafts, but I go back to the previous one which I was flicking through, which I've already cut into so many times, and I intend on using all of the pages and all of the images in this book because I've already started. I cut out this, sorry, you may hear my cat, she's meowing for attention, but I cut out this picture of the monkeys because there's some monkeys at this particular zoo, and I'm going to use that somewhere in the page. And the first thing I do is I just take all of the bits and pieces that I have and I just kind of lay them out on the spread, and I just move them around the page, and if anything stands out as obvious to me, I start with that. So for example, if I have two photos that I want to keep side by side, or if I have a particular piece of paper that fits really well in a certain section of the page or something like that, I will start with that idea and then I'll just flow from there. I have a calendar paper pad this year that I got from Bespoke Letterpress, and for the month of January I didn't use it because the kids were on holidays and I just wasn't really planning very much because our days were just so all over the place. And so I didn't want to waste that first calendar page, and I decided to use it in this particular spread as like a background paper, and that's going to help to identify when this memory happened and just use up that piece of paper. It's a nice calendar spread, and it works well to kind of anchor things down, fit things down on top of it. So you'll see how I use that. First I glued the page down and then I folded the excess over so that I could create a pocket. So you'll see how that forms as we go along. So for these few pages, I'm journaling across 3 single sides. So it's like a full 2-page spread and then an extra page on the first page. That's just on its own because there's already some written journaling beside it. And so I decided to glue that calendar down on that first page. And then with the excess, I just folded it over and I made it a little bit wider so it kind of doesn't sit flush against the page. It kind of hangs out a little bit, if that makes sense. And that's going to create a pocket on the back side where I can tuck in the little leaflet from the zoo. It's got a map of the zoo on it. And then the first page with the calendar little squares will help me to identify the day that this happened on. And I'm also going to add some decoration and some photos and stuff that kind of introduces you to the journaling and what the story is about. I ended up cutting out another picture of a kangaroo because this particular zoo has lots of little wallabies and kangaroos, and there's other names for them too, but they've got so many, and you can actually go in and you can feed them. So I've got a picture, a little Polaroid picture here of my daughter feeding a little mama and a baby, and the day that we went, it was so hot. It was over 30 degrees Celsius. It was very hot, very humid, and all of the animals that we saw were just so hot and bothered and just really like docile because of how hot it was. So probably wasn't the best day to go to the zoo, but there wasn't many people there, which was the plus side. So just working out where I'm going to stick my stuff on that first page. So this scrap is from an American zoo. It's a vintage piece of ephemera that I've already used parts of, and this is probably the last little piece of it that I have. And so I decided to include it again on this spread because I'm documenting the zoo, and I don't think it really matters too much that it's a picture of an American zoo. I think it just helps with the vibe of the page and helps to decorate the page, and it's a good way to use up that piece of ephemera as well. And then using some double-sided tape to attach the first little Polaroid picture on that first page, and I'm making sure that on the calendar you can still see that it says January up the top, and you can still see the actual day that we went. So I left on purpose the little box with the date that we went to the zoo uncovered. And then this little Australia patch I'm gluing with some PVA glue into one of the boxes, and it's just a nice little tactile piece that kind of goes with this because the zoo is called Billabong Zoo. It's an Australian zoo and it's got a kangaroo on that patch, so it kind of goes well. Now going on to the next page, I'm forming that pocket now with some double-sided tape. You can see how easy that is to do just by putting some tape along the top and the bottom and then folding it over to create a perfect sized pocket for this ephemera piece that I have, which is the map and the little info thing from the zoo. So I can slip that inside. I also added a couple of little staples to make it more secure. It's just a nice way to add ephemera so that it's not kind of overwhelming the page, so I can still have my own art and decoration and collage and journaling, and then I can have that ephemera included in a way where it's not kind of like in your face. So I like to do that when I have ephemera that I don't love the look of. I have a certain aesthetic that I like, I suppose, and if it looks vintage or really pretty, obviously I want to display it, but if it looks very like modern, I sometimes like to hide that stuff away into pockets. So I did that with the little map, and now I'm starting to form more ideas of how I can add some art into this page. So if you watch my previous videos, you would know that I'm trying to incorporate more of my own art and painting into my journaling, and I'm trying to get a little bit more creative with the way that I decorate my pages and trying to incorporate just more of myself through words and art. I thought about painting some animals from the zoo, but there's not really any animals that I felt too excited about painting at this particular zoo. I thought about painting maybe the crocodile or the lions, but I'm not overly confident. I know it would have been a good challenge for myself, but I thought when I found this image of these monkeys that I could actually do kind of like a bit of a collage-y thing, and I could paint with those monkey pictures and I could create my own little like artwork. So you'll see how that comes together again as I'm journaling. I'm just working with my receipts from the day as well. So I have a receipt from the zoo, and I also have a receipt from lunch when we went somewhere else later on in the day. And I decided to staple the little zoo receipts in the corner of the first page. It's folded up into itself, so it's not largely on display, but it's a nice little ephemera piece that you can flip out and you can take a look at. And then the other one is from lunch. So after the zoo we went into Port Macquarie and we got some lunch, and then we went to a beach, and so I just kept the receipt from the lunch that we got and I glued that straight down on the page here, as you can see. And then I also used the other Polaroid picture on top of the back of that little calendar piece. I added an extra staple onto that pocket just to stop that ephemera piece from getting hidden all the way inside. I want some of it to hang out so that you know that it's there, so you interact with that when you come to this page. Otherwise it could just get lost within the book. So I added a staple for that purpose. And then on the right side page is where I'm going to start adding a bit of artwork. And so I glued the monkey page down. I had to make it a little bit shorter, so I attached the word monkey and the dictionary meaning from the children's book up the top corner of the page, and then a little scrap of scrapbook paper along the bottom underneath the monkeys. Now I'm pulling out some paints and some pencils, and I'm going to try add some colour and some decoration with those. So just pulling out all my little brushes and some water, and it's time to get creative. So my idea was to take some paints and to put these monkeys into a cage. When you see me putting the little cage over the top of the monkeys, I felt a bit mean, but I drew like the top of the cage, just a basic shape with my pencil. I just wanted to draw this in first so that I could make sure that I got that kind of right, just the basic shape. And then I'm using some gouache paints, and I'm going to paint like a little roof on the top of the monkey pen. So I started out with this teal colour, and then I ended up putting a slightly darker colour on the top of this just because I felt like it wasn't quite what I was imagining. So I wanted to darken it a little bit, but the first layer is this bright teal colour, and I'm just painting in a block of colour for the roof of the monkey pen. And I feel like this page, I was so doubtful throughout the whole entire process because I didn't know how this was going to turn out, and it didn't look great for a lot of the process. But I think by the end, I really like how it turned out, and I love how the page has, by the end, it has so many different textures and imperfections that just make it so interesting, and I like all the different colors that I added. So I think it's just a really good reminder that you shouldn't be afraid to play in your journal or in your sketchbook, and it's really fun just to experiment and to try something new and try something different. Don't get too caught up in wondering whether it looks bad. And if I stopped at this point in time because I was doubting myself, it would have looked bad, but because I continued and because I completed the piece, I completed the page, it ended up being quite cute. And it would have been really easy just to go, oh, this looks bad, and just to give up because I wasn't liking how it was looking. But if you just continue with something, just persevere, even if you're doubting yourself, just keep adding things, go over things you don't like, you'll probably end up really liking it. And even if you don't, it's a really great way to learn, and it's a really great way to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And the very best part about it is it's fun. I've mentioned so much recently how my focus this year is just to go back to playing and to having fun. And the reason for that is largely because obviously my play has become my work over the years. And so when that happens, you end up kind of forgetting to play in a way because it's work. So you're putting so much pressure on yourself to do well and to make an income and to give people what they want to see, and you kind of forget to prioritize your own play and your own creative exploration, or at least I have a little bit over time. So this year I'm really just trying to focus on exploring again, just having fun and loosening up and trying new things. And I'm already learning so much, and I'm having so much more fun, and I feel like I'm enjoying my journal a lot as well because I'm trying new things. So I really encourage you to try things that you're not too confident in, and just to explore and just do things for yourself. So you can see I've just been adding more decoration with paints. I'm just slowly building up the page. I put a little bit of greenery inside the cage. I put some like swinging vines for the monkeys, and then on the page beside there's a little bit of extra room where I painted these bright balloons, and then I'm just going in with some really messy trees or like some greenery. So I wanted it to feel really green, and I just wanted to kind of paint the atmosphere of the zoo where there's lots of trees and there's lots of vegetation, and it's kind of it feels a little bit wild of the way that the zoo is. There's lots of trees and stuff all around, and I wanted to reference that in my picture and in my journal. I wanted to represent the way that it looked to me. The balloons are representing my birthday because we actually went to the zoo on my birthday again this year just for something to do. I wanted to just like have a little bit of a reminder that it was my birthday in the artwork as well. So you see me just add all of that greenery around the page, And then I decided to add some bricks over the top of that scrapbook paper, so just to add like a bit more texture to the page and make it look kind of a bit more like a cage. And then once everything was dry, I took out my coloured pencils and I'm drawing the string on the balloons. I'm just doing this really loose, just some strings hanging down, and then I pulled out a couple of different shades of green and I'm just adding some extra texture, so like some grassy texture or some little bush texture to the greenery. And then I also pull out a brown pencil and I'm adding some like twigs or some trees or some tree stumps throughout that greenery as well, just to make it look kind of a bit like foresty, I guess, around the monkeys. And yeah, I like how it turned out. It's very messy, it's very kind of abstract in a way, but I really like how this turned out as well. I want this artwork just to be very loose, very whimsical sort of feel, just very bright and colourful and fun. And I think, again, it's really important not to put too much pressure on yourself and try to create something that's really perfect, because sometimes it's just not going to happen. Sometimes you just got to have fun, and that's really what I was trying to do with this spread. I think painting a zoo is a really hard thing, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do that, but I definitely wanted to paint more on this page and on these pages, and so I was just trying to work out a way that I could do that and feel comfortable and have fun, and I really like how it turned out. I used my ruler and a black pencil, a black coloured pencil, just to add the cage over the top of the monkeys. I felt so mean doing this, it's just so funny, but it just felt so weird putting these lines over the top of these little monkeys. But I think in the end it looks really cute. I like how you can see the greenery and the trees peeking through the cage bars. And I added a couple of horizontal lines as well along the top and the bottom. And then just adding a couple of extra pencil details around the cage as well, or around the enclosure. Enclosure sounds better than cage. This particular zoo, they do have a lot of animals who are like injured or they can't be returned to the wild for whatever reason. So they're really well taken care of, and there's no animal cruelty or anything with this zoo, but it is always kind of sad to see animals who are usually wild in a cage. I pulled out a white pencil and I'm adding some extra texture and some pencil lines to the artwork. I think this just gives it more depth, kind of like little highlights throughout the greenery, throughout the trees. And then returning to that first page, I decided to highlight the date of my birthday by painting in the box of my birthday with this pink paint. So this is the same pink paint that I used on the top of the monkey enclosure. And then I went in with my pencil and I wrote Billabong Zoo on that first page as well. And now I'm going in with just a couple of stickers. So I liked this bright red label sticker, which is just from Kmart a long time ago. And then I added a couple of tiny word stickers around the page as well. This is a really old piece of a chalkboard sticker, which isn't even sticky anymore. It's that old. It's probably like 10 years old. I stapled it along the bottom of the monkey cage, and then I'm writing the zoo in these alphabet stickers on top of the greenery on the left side of the page. And I accidentally forgot that there was a pocket there, so I put the letter T over the pocket and page, and it kind of wrecked the whole idea of the pocket, the whole purpose of the pocket. So when I go to slip the map back inside, I realized my mistake and I just had to reset that little T directly on the page. So it's kind of hidden by the ephemera, but I don't think it matters. The particular letters that I use, they don't stand out that much. They're just a nice little extra detail that you kind of notice if you really, really look. So I added a couple of extra little stickers around the page just to decorate, and I'm trying to remember to use up my stickers too because I have so many stickers and they're really fun to use and they add such a nice little detail, so trying to use them up. I added a couple of cute little bow stickers. You guys know I love bows at the moment. I think they look so cute and I'm kind of sad because I'm going to be out of these bow stickers soon. And then finally a little flower sticker on top of the greenery, and then I'm going to go in with my journaling. And before I do my written journaling, I'm going over some of the details on the receipts with my pen. And I'm really messy with this, like it doesn't look great, but I go over the major details just because I think the receipts are eventually going to fade and I'm too lazy to scan them in, print them out and use prints. So I just trace over them. I also kind of like to use the authentic thing. And then whenever the text does fade, you'll at least know what that receipt was. So I did that on the receipts, and then I went in with my pen and I wrote out my written journaling, which wasn't much today. If anyone is wondering, the pen I use for journaling is a Pentel and a gel pen. Really love these pens because of how smooth they are to write with. I used a regular ballpoint pen on top of anything that's kind of a bit slippery, like the receipts or the label sticker that I stuck down is quite slippery as well. So these Pentel Energel pens, they take a little while to dry, so I don't write on top of slippery stuff like that with those pens. But on regular paper, they're lovely and smooth. And here is a look at the finished spread. Again, I really like how this page turned out. I'm loving pushing myself to use pencils and paints. I'm loving how it looks to have all of these extra textures on the page and all of these extra pops of color and little illustrations that I've created myself that help to tell a story. I think it's really, really fun, and it's adding a whole extra dimension to my pages that I haven't explored too much before in the past. I have drawn in my journals before, but not regularly, so I'm really liking how my journal feels to flick through already when there's pencil and there's painting on every page or every few pages. So I'm really, really enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying seeing the process as well. If you are, please put a thumbs up on this video. It helps my channel so much. Or if you want to leave me a comment down below, even better. I love hearing your thoughts. I really hope you're all doing well, and I will see you again soon in my next video.